What's up, guys? This is Ricky V, and you're listening to episode number 39 of the Elite Fitness podcast. And in this one, I have my buddy Sean Zealberg coming on the podcast to talk to you guys about CBD, THC, and the cannabis business as it stands today. He's an entrepreneur in the industry with some pretty interesting information to share. So without further ado, here you go.
So yeah, man, like I said, I just haven't had any alcohol since the beginning of the year. Played some pickleball today, and I'm just like sore, laying in bed, recovering. And you know, I got that CBD in me. That's a given. But yeah, I'm still hurting. Like, it's not a cure-all. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's great for the people who, you know, do benefit from it, like me. But yeah, today is one of those days where it doesn't hurt to have something a little stronger.
Where are you playing pickleball at your gym, or do you have courts nearby? How are you getting it? How are you getting it done?
Yeah, so I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I live on the south side. And there's this park off of Zarzamora. It's called, oh man, I'm gonna look it up right now. Can you still hear me as I'm talking?
Yeah, I can hear you. So do you schedule it to meet people there to play, or do you just go there and challenge people to play when you're there? How does that work out?
Oh no, man, I'm not challenging anybody, man. I'm like solo dolo. You know, I just if nobody's using it because it's wintertime, you know, so I just do my thing.
You play by yourself, or do you have like somebody to play with you? How does that work out?
Yeah, just me, man. So I'll set up like
you play against the wall, like handball, like against the wall then.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, okay. Because when you said you got sore, I thought maybe you got competitive or something, but I guess you can push yourself hard enough. No. So, what does the CBD do for you? Do you think how's it improving your lifestyle?
Well, for me, I think the main benefit is it's anti-inflammatory. The Western diet, the Western lifestyle, just the stress alone from everyday life causes inflammation in the body. Inflammation is associated with oxidative stress, right? That's the stuff you don't want. So CBD, I love the anti-inflammatory effect, whether it's like using it as a lotion for sore muscles or anything like that, you know, putting it in food. I love to cook with it. But what's crazy too is it's also antimicrobial, right? So it can kill like I think they're even doing research that it might be able to even help with like antibiotic resistant staph infections. So sometimes people report like it helps them with their gut biome, and you know there's a lot of research going on. We're really at the cusp of a new industry. You know, if I was like. I was telling my dad, because he's old school, he's straight edge, man. He walks the line, and I love my dad, right? And he fed us, you know, he's a great father, great role model, but he wasn't about this cannabis business, right? I explained it to him, and I was like, Dad, it's not what you think. It's like a vegetable. It's only until people kind of manipulate it with THC that's where you get the psychoactive effect. But, you know, this is like, it should be like in every supplement. You know, people need to be thinking that this is a vegetable, this is a supplement, and it may work for you, but it's like, you know, anything that you sell in your product line, you know, who wouldn't take it if it could have a positive result and it's affordable on a monthly basis?
So what opportunities are there for someone to get into the cannabis business? Because this is something that you are working on now, right? You're getting into the cannabis business, extractions and products and things like that. What opportunities are there? What kind of legalities need to be navigated? Because as far as I can tell, different states have different laws on this.
That's correct. I'd be glad to share with you some resources. I love what Texas A&M University, my alma mater, is doing. They have an industrial hemp program, and on their page, like they have like a resource legal center and other links that show you the CBD laws and the cannabis laws state by state. You know, personally, in terms of risk, I definitely think it depends on what you're doing. So if you're a manufacturer like me, you know, you're making edibles, and, you know, I could really make anything. You know, I can make vape product to anything. I know how to infuse cannabis into any type of product pretty much, using this process for people at home. So I'm not really trying to scale anything. I could do a lot of damage, like in the size of a small studio, right? But yeah, I just help people do it at home. And so that's the thing, is like the barriers to entry really depend on the state. So in Texas, it cost me like under maybe $2,000 startup cost straight up.
What
And
does
other
that
states,
include? What does the $2,000
so
include?
yeah, so that would be like me buying, getting the license. The license, I believe, is about under 400. And then after that, you need equipment, right? So this could be how you're going to extract it. Some people buy something called a magic butter machine, and I can do that for under $20. It's just more less electronic process, let's say that, but it's like very simple what I do. And I'm slowly releasing it to certain people that deserve it and I think would appreciate it and not laugh at it, because people have laughed at what I'm doing. But for example, I shared this with you ever heard of the Pennsylvania Dutch Amish community?
I've heard of the Amish, and I've
Yeah,
heard there's a lot of them in Pennsylvania.
right on. Yeah, my dad's from Pennsylvania. Not that part. He's from Camden. But yeah, like I knew about the Amish because of my dad. And yeah, I just helped him. I told him what I was doing because I knew that they would appreciate it, because it's low tech what I do, and I'm actually working on like an off-grid version where like this could be done by solar power. So I'm not trying to say like I'm Elon Musk or something, but the sky's the limit. Just be careful depending on the state, right? Because you may have to have a residency requirement. You may need to live in a state for a certain couple of years. But to answer the original question, after the license cost of about under 400, you got to buy equipment, right? My equipment's very cheap. So like, let's add like 100 to that. And then you're buying product. So this could be like a pound of CBD flower. It could be a pound of trim. And by CBD flower, I mean like it looks like weed, but it's like 0.3% THC. So it's the federally legal and compliant Farm Bill hemp, right? And that's what you use to put into lotions and stuff. But the market is getting more advanced. People are making new things like Delta 8 from CBD. There's THC O, THCP, which is
I
like,
thought Delta 8 was I thought Delta 8 THC was naturally occurring in plants. You're saying they're manipulating CBD to turn it into Delta 8 THC?
Well, yeah. They're not just Delta 8, and by that I mean like they're using a chemical process versus like taking what it can do naturally, because it's only natural in very small amounts. But
Right, correct. Yeah, I always wonder how they were able to extract it and separate it from Delta 9 and Delta 10. Yeah.
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah. So what
Okay.
I'm hearing is that they're not actually extracting the Delta 8, that they're using a chemical process to turn CBD into Delta 8. That's
Exactly.
interesting. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
tell me how that works out.
So you could use like a acid, right? Like acetic acid, which is like vinegar, to like even stronger acids, right? The problem is that the stronger the acid or the chemical, like the harder it is on your body as a solvent, and people could get sick if they're not getting a full panel test. So the way it works in Texas, like if it's going in your body, like you need a full panel test to make sure there's no heavy metals, contaminants, etc. But to make this synthesis, it's like just chemistry, man. I mean, I know it sounds so like simple, but it's over people's heads. But it's really more easy than people realize. So you can take CBD, right? You can use the same process that I do, but then you take it through a chemical process, right? You could be using heat, time, temperature, chemicals, mechanical type of extraction. So these new molecules, and I'm talking new, these do not exist in nature, buddy. One of them is called THCO, and it's making people freak out, dude. Like it's because it's 4 times stronger than normal weed. Can you believe that's available in the legal markets? But
Well,
somehow,
there was a product out that was making people addicted called K3 or K2 or something.
oh, but yeah, that was like a synthetic cannabinoid. Like that was like mad science. Like that shouldn't have been on the market. Like, so I will say this: like
Well,
THC,
would THCO be synthetic too? It's been synthesized, which it didn't occur in nature.
Exactly. Let me explain, right? So you know the morphine, right? You've heard of that? So the same
Absolutely, yeah.
chemical process that turns morphine into heroin is what makes basically like CBD become like THCO. This process doesn't occur in nature. It would never occur in nature, and that's why this THCO is like 4 times stronger than regular cannabis. But here's the thing: there's even stronger stuff that they're making called THCP, which is like hella strong. Like my buddy who's an even bigger fish than me, he was saying like somebody tried 1 milligram of THCP and they were high for like 8 hours in a legal state, just like stronger than weed. That's what's crazy. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so they're
Not
taking CBD and through any kind of chemical process, they're able to turn it into either Delta 8. I'm familiar with Delta 8.
yeah,
THCO and THCB today on this podcast is the first time I'm really hearing about it, because it's not the kind of stuff I'm keeping up on and researching. But this is very interesting. So
yeah,
I know about Delta 8. I've tried it just to say I do it like experimental on myself. I wanted to see what it felt like. And I remember the reason I don't really partaking in marijuana is because it gets me really tired and sleepy when it goes away. It's pretty cool to be a little bit buzzed, a little bit high, but I've always got to sleep like an extra 2 hours a day on the days that I do smoke, and I never liked that feeling. But I fucked with THC Delta 8 in a vape pen, and I noticed it was a very much milder kind of high, and I didn't get that grogginess, that sleepiness, that fucking itis I used to get
yeah.
at the very end of my of smoking flower or whatever. It's kind of the thing that turned me off to potash, just being kind of fucking
Well,
sleepy
here's
and
the
run
trippy.
down.
Can I ask you a question? Were you smoking them big old blunts?
No, any amount of weed, any amount of weed. The more plant matter, the worse. So if it was like whole flower, I would just always get sleepy. And then I've tried like extracts, like vape pens with full spectrum THC. I've tried wax. Wax is fuck. It's like crack. I mean, it's
I know
it's a very
it's not
intense,
normal.
it's a
know.
very intense, very quick high, and then you come down very quickly. It's
I,
not
I,
a
I
good
personally
feeling.
don't do it. That's not
Yeah,
me,
it's
man.
not a good feeling. So I mean,
Yeah.
I've tried to just. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's a nice, you get your appetite going when you're bulking. Even just watching a documentary, or even consuming some content or reading stuff that's relevant. Writing
Yeah.
too. It's a good way to get
Living
started.
life, man. Just living life.
It's pretty cool. Makes you think about things that you weren't normally thinking. But I can't be like a daily user, because I would literally sleep an extra 15, 16 hours a week that I need for other things. Yeah, that's the effect it has on me personally. But Delta 8, milder high, it didn't make you really hungry, that hungry. At least not me. And it didn't make me kind of sleepy and groggy at the end. And it was nice. I thought Delta 8 was cool. Now that you're telling me is not really extracted, but is actually processed out from CBD, it makes me a little bit worried now.
Well, I mean, yes and no. So I believe I'm more of like a free market Austrian economics type of perspective for anybody listening who's a business or economics fan. So what that means is like there is a reason that we have like rules and things for the market, right? So ideally, you wouldn't have dangerous product on the market, like if they're making bathtub gin or something like that. So if you have a real chemist that can like pass a full panel test with no contaminants, like I think it's cool. As long as it's tested in a laboratory and it's proven safe for human consumption, I think that's like the litmus test whether or not like it should be out on the market. Now, it gets dangerous because people are trying to do it themselves and they're trying to compete and cut corners. And anytime you start cutting corners, people will always cut the corner of safety. I've seen it many times. And it is what it is. So consumer safety is number one. You asked earlier about what are the risks. That's one of the risks, man. Like the biggest risk.
What is your opinion on vape pens and vaping in general?
I mean, I've seen insurance claims where a vape pen blows up in a dude's face and like we'd had to give him plastic surgery. I mean, I'm not laughing. It's not funny at all. Like the product liability is real. Like, so if they could do that, people leave vapes in their cars and the lithium ion has exploded and caused fires.
What about long-term effects to your lungs? What do you?
All right, here's what's trippy though. There's two sides to every story, and I'm not a doctor. We don't want to get that misinformation vibe going, but there was like a study in the 1940s, like of glycolized air, which is basically propylene glycol, which is used in vapes. And it was very effective at helping reduce flu virus transmission. And it also does have kind of that like antiseptic effect almost. So you could make an argument that like in certain cases, like vape, and it's also, I believe, like used in some inhalers anyway for this purpose. Like sometimes propylene glycol is good for your lungs, and you add a little bit of cannabis with that, it's anti-inflammatory. I think vapes, like if it's right for the right person, I don't see a problem with it. And if it's safe, like I said, I'm always big about safety. That this company better have money in the bank if their product hurts somebody. They better have insurance, and they better be passing those lab tests. And it is what it is. So I think vapes are cool, just as long as the risk is managed appropriately.
Tell me a little bit about THCO and THCB, because in this podcast is the first time I hear about it. Are there commercially available products already that have these compounds? Are they kind of undergroundish? What is the deal with them?
No, man. Like it's like the wild west. And just to be clear, it's THCO, and then THCP. P is in Peter.
P, got it.
Yeah. But there's other things coming out too. There's about to be, hey, you know what? You should get into this one. It's called THCV as in Victor. And that's like, they think it's going to be for like, I'm not calling you fat, but they think it's like for obesity and like dieting. So if you wanted to, like after you're bulking, if you want to like get that cut going again, this THCV they think can suppress appetite and also just like help with like overall weight loss. So they think
is that synthetic or is that naturally occurring?
There are some strains where it's naturally occurring, but just like anything else, it's in small quantities. So
okay, so it was identified and then synthesized from something that was identified, not made in a lab.
You want to hear something trippy?
Sure.
Get this. So I've been making this infused sugar. Yeah, I know I take regular sugar, but I can use like anything. I can use like xylitol. I can use monk fruit, stevia, whatever sugar. And anyway, I sent it to the lab and there was a lot. I'm talking 50% ratio of CBD and THCV as Victor. And right now, THCV, the last time I checked, was going for like 40,000 a kilo. So I could have made some money off of this if I really made a big batch of it, but I'm just kind of tinkering right now at this point to see the best deal.
You're figuring out how to synthesize.
It might have just happened randomly in the process of what I was doing. But here's what's crazy: I tried to replicate it, and I intentionally did something different in the process just to see what would happen. That would let me identify what's called precursors. And sure enough, there was no THCV. So unless it was a laboratory fluke, which I doubt, because like I got a pretty solid lab in my hometown, San Antonio. Shout out to Veterans Laboratories. Shout out to James. Shout out to Beach. Yeah, those guys, they're good. And I just need to figure out what I did. Maybe I just got lucky. I don't know, but I'm going to replicate it one more time and see what it do.
Why were you trying to bond THC to sugar? Did you have a particular reason? Because I got a little story I could tell you about that.
I like to put it in Kool-Aid, and I make my own low calorie like Gatorade. So I'm making like basically like a CBD sports drink. So I'm not really working with THC because I don't personally like to get high. Because when I get high, just like thank you for sharing how you get when you get high, because I'm the opposite, bro. Like you get sleepy, I get amped to the point where if I do it every day, like people are gonna think I'm on crack. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be very careful.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know we're like complete opposites, right? But it is what it is.
I'm a big coffee drinker. I'm a big coffee drinker myself.
See, coffee messes me up. I get angry. Like I get amped up and upset. Like there was one day I was just mad at the world and I was like, you know what? What did I do? And I was like, oh yeah, it must have been those 6 cups of coffee. because I've been hanging out at Dos Hermanos. Shout out to them. Cool coffee place in San Antonio, Texas. Just kind of exploring the menu because I'm not a coffee drinker, man. That's not me. But with sobriety, maybe I should get into something, to get the sip on and be social,
Yeah. I have like a really bad effect to any kind of rec drugs, like alcohol. When I drink and I get tipsy, the hangover for me lasts a couple of days, like 2-3 days.
Damn.
Like if I drink on a Saturday night, I get loose with the goose on a Saturday night. Come Monday or Tuesday, I'm like trying to take notes to put a blog post together. I'm trying to record a podcast, or I'm reading through some kind of study, and I can't, like, I got to read things over and over again. I can't write shit. Like, I'll write something, and then before I press send, I look and I'm like, oh shit, how did I miss this? How did I miss that? Like, my brain just is not the same. And I notice it 2-3 days after I drank. And also I get, when you drink, you don't feel anxious. You feel really nice, really, it takes fear away. But man, once that because that alcohol is inundating the axons and your nerves. But then once you're off the alcohol and all that alcohol starts leaving the axons in your nerves, dude, I get like panic attacks, like crazy anxiety.
Dude,
I've got to like jump under cold water, jump on my bed, turn on a fan to cool my whole body down, drink a ton of OJ. Like, I can't do shit, bro. And it's anxious. And then I'm like anxious and fearful for like 2-3 days. I'm like making decisions about things I need to do, money, schedule, life. And I'm like, I'm having like a panic attack because I had some drinks a couple of days ago. Like,
dude,
yeah, like I've just never been a good drunk or a good smoker, man. It's just the way God built me, I guess. But
all right.
You know what's interesting? You brought up bonding THC with sugar. There's a company out there. Their name is Azuca. I think you could find it with a Z, Azuca. And you could find them online. They basically created a process they bond THC to sugar. So if you're making edibles, if you're in the edible market, you could just buy this THC bonded sugar from them, and it takes a step away from you having to, because you see the reason you're doing it is because you want to suspend THC, which is only soluble in oils. You're trying to put it into Kool-Aid, into water base. Right?
Correction. I want to put CBD.
CBD, which, I mean, is CBD soluble in water? It's also soluble in oil only, right?
Yeah, it's well, they do have nano CBD, which, I mean, chemistry wise, like, so say I do make this Kool-Aid, right? One way I can make it, quote unquote, more bioavailable is by using something called a sonicator, which is kind of like a very powerful emulsifier or blender. And it just like breaks down the CBD molecule into very, very, very smaller pieces of that molecule. So like your body absorbs it better. So they have that going on. But me, like, I'm just like very basic, like I'll blend it up. But
what do you do with oil spills? So they drop below the top of the water, they drop to the bottom. They break it up into really tiny droplets.
I use an emulsifier. You can use
yeah, of course, yeah, emulsifying.
Yeah, I use an emulsifying agent, and then I use a filter because, yeah, man, like, oh, I should send you a picture of what it looks like.
The way Azuca does it is Azuca is actually smaller. Bro, the particle's smaller than the nano.
Bro, yeah. Do you want to see what it looks like when I strain the Kool-Aid?
Well, you can't show me now. You might have to send me the pictures later.
Oh, word. Oh, I wish I could do it right now. I was going to say, yeah, it looks gross, dude. It looks so disgusting. And like, if you don't strain it properly, like, there's like little Scooby snacks floating around because it coagulates. Like, certain things coagulate in those THC and those cannabis oils from the plant. And it just looks gross. And like, if you get it on your teeth, oh, you're done, dude. You look like, I don't know, man. You look like nobody wants green teeth. That's all I'm saying, and that's what you're gonna look like.
Yeah, well, yeah. What I'm saying is just interesting that a company could, in the cannabis industry, which, I mean, is huge now. Dude, a company could be a big company just creating a a technique of bonding it to sugar and selling the
Nah,
sugar?
bro, it's been around. They're like, dude, no, they're not the first people to do it. Trust me,
Sure.
bro. How do you think I learned how to do it? I learned it from the black market, bro. We've been doing cannabis chemistry a long time.
They probably patented the process that was already out there. Is that what you're
Okay,
saying?
well, okay. So the way that I learned it, like, and then I made my own innovation. My boy taught me you take sugar and then you take Everclear and then you do like a water bath. So like slowly, like the sugar is absorbing the CBD or THC if it's that type of flower, and then the alcohol is evaporating. So the end process is still sugar when it cools down and crystallizes again. It's just like infused. Does that make sense? Because like the beginning product is like Everclear tincture of CBD or THC. So a very green alcohol basically is what I'm talking about. You drop that in sugar, you heat it up, and it'll evaporate. Like you could honestly take like a big bag of sugar and you could take this Everclear infused with CBD. Like you could do this at home, dude. You can blend up a bunch of CBD and then put it in a big bottle of Everclear, shake up that Everclear bottle, put it in a Pyrex borosilicate pan like you can buy at the grocery store with that sugar, and then just turn your oven on to warm and just keep it warm. And I promise you, like, it'll slowly evaporate over time and you basically got the same stuff at home.
And you could take that sugar and drop it into Kool-Aid, into salsa water, to whatever, and it acts like regular sugar, right? It's just infused.
You bet your bottom dollar.
Yeah, there's a popular product out now where it's like a seltzer water drink and it's infused with THC, and it's supposed to be pretty popular. One of those flavored seltzer waters. So
Nice.
it's infused in THC everything, man. It's incredible. So you're saying THCP and THCO are basically black market underground now, stuff people are doing in their homes. It's not something you go to dispensary and buy right now.
No, dude, like straight up, like it's legal. That's what's crazy.
You can buy it at
like,
a dispensary right now. You could buy THCP
yeah,
at a dispensary.
I can go to any of these CBD stores in town that I know, or even smoke shops are making it now, and I can get this stuff. And what's nuts, like I said, sometimes it's like 4 times stronger than regular THC that people are used to. And THC,
see, that's scary. That's scary to me because I mean THC. If you get a strong plant, it already fucking sits you on your ass. What do you want? Does anybody really need that much more? Is anybody's tolerance really that high? Like
push it to the limit. You know what I'm saying?
Unless you're Snoop Dogg.
I need that. No, I'm just kidding, man. But there are people that are like that. That's what's scary. Is like you're always gonna get that one person that always wants to like take it to the extreme, you know. But some people who are amateurs, like it's dangerous. So what I'm saying is,
so here's the question. So apparently, when someone is a cannabis user, if they just stop smoking for 2 days, the tolerance automatically begins to reel back in. Wouldn't someone save more money if they're a regular cannabis user if they did less cannabis, or if they skip some days, so that way they keep the tolerances low and they won't? Because I mean, no, it doesn't work that way.
You gotta smoke weed every day. I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Because you could, I mean, if your tolerance is not that high, you will get just as fucked up, just as high off of a little tiny puff than you will of a big blunt, right? But if your tolerance builds up, then you need a big ass blunt to get high, right?
You're right.
I don't know. I don't know how people let the tolerances blow the fuck out, but I know wax. I ran across a couple people, some guys that go and train MMA. Actually, I mean, they hit, I mean, wax day and night is all they do, and that, I mean, that stuff, it's your tolerance is through the roof at that point if you're doing that stuff.
Like ghetto Popeye, but I ain't eating spinach. You know what I'm saying? I used to make a CBD drink that I bring into UFC gym. And like, yeah, dude, that thing would get me going and keep me through it, right? Because like I said, it has that anti-inflammatory thing. So, you know, when you're hydrating, you don't realize it, but you're recovering. You're getting oxygen and get this other stuff. And yeah, man, like I'll take some of this CBD sports drink that I make all day when I'm working out. In fact, when I was playing pickleball, that's what I was drinking earlier. So I was drinking on that when I was exercising today.
So, I heard CBD is it really sounds like a cure all, and I mean it helps with epilepsy, right? Parkinson's, correct? With of muscle pain, with actual pain in the joints. It's an anti-inflammatory. It it it's it.
Well,
So
let's
someone suggested it to me. It said full spectrum CBD would help me with attention deficit disorder.
I
Um,
mean, dude, you got to be really careful if you're making medical claims like that. For one, like that's kind of a sketch claim. Maybe there's some science going on. Maybe for a particular person, yeah. Like, in fact, it makes me realize like one of the products that I'm going to start selling is called pharmacogenomics test. So pharmacogenomics already exists. So if you have to take Humira or something like really expensive, like an expensive biological, which mind you, some of these things are like $40,000 per dose, like per syringe or whatever, like some of them you could have a bad reaction, not because the drug's bad, because your genetics just wasn't a fit. So you take this cotton swab, just like the cotton swabs for like the ancestry.com, 23andMe or whatever. And it'll tell you based off your genetics which drugs have the biggest risk of an adverse reaction. So I've identified a gene that has been linked to cannabis psychosis. Like, basically some people do get paranoid and they freak out. It is what it is. It may not be lethal, but it's an uncomfortable experience. It can be traumatic. So if people know that they may have to take medical marijuana, definitely take this test, because it'll tell you, okay, well, maybe that THC ain't for you, but let's definitely get you on some CBD. Let's see what maybe some of these other compounds, maybe Delta 8 doesn't have that effect for these certain genetics. Like, we're so new into this research, and I got to keep studying. I got to keep working, but I'm actually working two jobs. I don't do this full time, man. So like all of this is just like a due to the dream pretty much, man.
so what are you trying to do? What is your dream? Your what would be what is your end game? Because this is interesting. You're basically launching a what would be a cannabis business in Texas right from your home. So
For the
what is
mean
kind of
streets
what
of
what, what kind of
Czars and
product
Mora.
line would you like to bring out? What kind of distribution of sales are you looking to? How are you looking to effectuate those? I mean, what's your game plan?
Okay, so all of my jobs, I felt my whole life like I love working with people. I love helping people. I love relating to people, because there were times when like I didn't have people. You know what I'm saying? Um, I was with a girl for about 6 years and it didn't work out, and she was great, and I still think about it to this day. But what I'm getting at is like I'm a different person now. So the approach is different. So my dream, I want to build based off my identity and who I am today. And when I want to bring a cannabis incubator to San Antonio, Texas. So if you wanted to start a cannabis company, you could go there if you had a good idea. It's kind of like a Shark Tank. You go there, you present. Maybe you just want to use it for a rental space. Maybe it's like a co-working space, but it'll have access to the best laboratory in America with the best prices, some of the best minds. Like, and we're a veteran city. We're the number one veteran city in Texas. So like, I believe that my dream is possible. It's just a matter of getting the infrastructure there. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting. And what are the first one or two products that you're working on yourself? Something that you want to bring out to the market?
So I've done a lot of different like experiments. So one of the ways that I would like to, just as proof of concept, one of the ways the incubator could make money is by like selling or getting good legal and finance and banking. Maybe we look at blockchain. Who knows? We get these mechanisms in place so we can get royalty deals. So I may never be able to be like that sugar company that you told me about, but maybe I could create my own process, right? And I could sell it to them and show it to them. And every time they sell a product, I get $1. I'm cool with that, and that's how these incubators work. So if you bring someone in and you give them the infrastructure to build their business, and they leave the nest and create a headquarters in a different city, like every time they're selling a product, the incubator's making money so they can bless the next cannabis company looking to do something different and innovate or help or do whatever, whether it's hemp clothing or agriculture or just anything in the cannabis industry. Like we need the infrastructure for innovation because we're falling behind. And America needs to be a leader for innovation in all industries, not just cannabis. So if I could set the example in cannabis, an industry where they think everybody's lazy and they don't know anything, and nah, man, like I really believe that if anybody's listening to this message and you've got the infrastructure to do what I'm doing, like do it. I'm sure my idea already exists, but it just doesn't exist in my hometown. That's all I'm saying.
That's interesting. That's a real interesting way to approach the business. What is the gross yearly revenue for cannabis in Texas now? Do you know by any chance?
Oh man, who knows? Like, but I'll tell you what, the second that we get some sense in the laws and we get in one accord with what we need to do for the people of Texas and the state and the country and the world, man, we'll have so much money in cannabis. The barn doors will be bursting open at the seams, man. I'm telling you, we're just getting started. That's the thing. And there's been some bad things that have happened. There's been some corruption in the politics and the licenses out there. And my personal opinion is it's a race to the bottom. I've seen this in the construction industry in my career. It is what it is. Everybody's trying to undercut everybody else. And, you know, I'm not cool with that. So that's why I'm just going to stay on the sidelines, stay true to what I do. And that's creating cool products and innovations. And maybe an honest company will give me a chance to like sell one of my recipes for royalty. And that little stream of income will help me to reach more people like my Amish buddies that I helped extract, and other people that I do this for free as part of my ministry. So I try and empower people because like I'm selling the concept of an incubator. And how can you do that if you're not bearing the fruits of like your successful knowledge and other people across the world? So I'm trying to help people in Zimbabwe. I'm trying to help people in Europe, trying to help people all across the world get this cannabis going as fast as we can for humanity, because we got to heal, man.
I mean, it's a definitely a growing market. You know, there were guys that 5 years ago weren't doing a lot, and now in the cannabis industry are making hundreds of millions a year. It's definitely been increasing. I just gave it a quick Google search as we were here talking, and it's big. You know, I don't want to quote this page because I don't know how completely accurate they are, but I mean, it's growing by about 46% year after year since since 2019 about. So it's real interesting. It's definitely.
Well, I mean, there was another plant that was growing at a wildly clip. You know, it was just growing and growing and growing. It was called the tulip. And if you want to Google something right now, it's called the tulip effect. I believe that's what's happening with cannabis, and that describes that growth you're talking about.
Well, tulips are fucking useless. I think I know what you're talking about. The in Holland, where tulips were
yeah,
expensive, but see, tulips are useless. But cannabis,
you're right. Amen. Cannabis is the key to healing society. For
it's
sure.
consumed. You know, cannabis is consumed.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely for sure interesting. Well, listen, my man, I definitely appreciate you coming on. How can people find you? What if someone who wants to invest into your ideas and into what you're doing, how can you let them find you? What's the best way?
Okay, well, my name is Sean. That's S as in Sam, E as in Echo, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, Zealberg, like New Zealand and iceberg, Zealberg. And I'm on Instagram, CBD every way. That's CBD every way. And yeah, I mean, I also have a website, artofthezeal.com. That's my ministry website. And no, I'm not obsessed with Donald Trump. I just thought it sounded cool that, yeah, the artofthezeal.com. So those are my websites, man. So yeah, check it out and hit me up. I love to talk to everybody and help the world.
Yeah, I'll link those up in the description of this podcast. So wherever you're listening to, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, wherever you're listening to this podcast today, just open the description. You get a link in case you want to get in contact with Sean and, you know, talk to him, maybe even invest in his business or move down to Texas and, you know, live in a wheat ranch. I'm sure Sean can tell you how to get set up.
Hey, it's either going to be two things. We're either going to be in a lab or a God bless church preaching the gospel, my man.
All right, on. Well, Sean, man, thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate all of the information.
Yes, sir.
And we'll stay in touch, my man. Have a good one.
All righty. You too, man. Peace.
Peace.